She was the last-minute replacement nobody wanted. Her rifle looked like it belonged in a museum, not a combat zone. The elite sniper team mocked her antique scope, calling it useless in modern warfare. They assigned her the worst position, expecting nothing. Then enemy artillery pinned down our extraction team from an impossible distance, 2.3 miles out. When no one could make the shot, she stepped forward. What happened next silenced not just the enemy, but every soldier who had doubted her. The impossible shot that day revealed a classified truth about the quiet woman with the antique rifle. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If stories of overlooked heroes speak to you, consider subscribing for more tales of extraordinary moments that changed everything. Dawn breaks over forward operating base Sentinel, painting the mountains in hues of amber and gold. Dust hangs in the air as Phantom Unit performs final equipment checks. 6 elite snipers in cutting-edge tactical gear calibrate digital scopes that whir softly as advanced rifles gleam with carbon fiber and titanium components. Commander Riker Blackwood stands before a topographical hologram, his weathered face illuminated by blue light as he traces their infiltration route. The mission is straightforward for the military's premier sniper unit. Extract a high-value intelligence asset from behind enemy lines. "We've got a last-minute addition," announces Captain Zephyr Merrick, approaching with a datapad. Command insisted. Riker's expression darkens. "We don't do last minute." The team falls silent as a woman enters the briefing area. Amaris Thorne carries herself with the quiet economy of movement that marks experienced operators. But everything else about her seems wrong. Her tactical gear is worn but meticulously maintained, lacking the unit insignias and tech interfaces of the others. Most jarring is the rifle slung across her back, a weathered Mosin Nagant with brass fittings and what appears to be a handmade scope. "This is Specialist Thorne," Riker announces, his tone carefully neutral. "She'll be our overwatch on Ridge Point." Elowen Drake, the unit's lead sniper with 3 confirmed kills beyond a mile, approaches Amaris, examining the antique weapon with undisguised disdain. "What museum did you steal this from?" Elowen asks, tracing a finger along the worn wooden stock. "That scope couldn't spot an elephant at 200 yards. The team chuckles, exchanging glances. Amaris says nothing, making a minute adjustment to her scope with a small brass tool that looks as old as the rifle itself. As the team disperses to prepare, Riker confronts Zephyr privately. "Her file?" "Almost entirely redacted," Zephyr replies, handing over the datapad. "Just says she was with Phantom Echo." Riker freezes. Phantom Echo was disbanded after Meridian Valley. "I know," Amaris says quietly from behind them, having approached silently. Her eyes meet Riker's, revealing nothing. "Ridge Point, I'll be ready." She walks away, leaving Riker staring after her, suddenly unsure about the mission he'd considered routine. Midday sun beats down on the rocky terrain as Phantom Unit moves through the shadow of a mountain range. The extraction point lies in a valley below, surrounded by enemy forces. Each sniper takes their assigned position with practiced efficiency, deploying portable camouflage systems and digital rangefinders. Amaris is directed to Ridge Point, the least strategic position, far from the main action. She accepts without comment, moving to the exposed outcropping of rock that offers a clear line of sight to the valley, but little protection. "Command must really hate you," mutters Talon Everest, the team's spotter, as he passes. "Or they're setting you up to fail. Either way, try not to get yourself killed with that antique." Amaris unpacks methodically. No digital equipment, no advanced targeting system. Just a worn leather journal, a brass compass, and a small pouch of tools that look more appropriate for clockmaking than modern warfare. Through their comms, the team hears the extraction team reporting they've reached the asset and are preparing to move. The mission is proceeding according to plan, until it isn't. "Artillery!" The call comes through their comms as the first shell impacts near the extraction team. "Taking fire from the eastern ridge." Through their advanced scopes, the snipers locate the source, an enemy artillery position on a distant ridge 2.3 miles out, far beyond effective range of even their advanced weapons. "Impossible shot," Elowen declares after attempting and missing. "Not with these wind conditions, not at this distance." One by one, the team tries and fails. The artillery continues its devastating barrage, pinning down the extraction team in a rapidly deteriorating position. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they're overrun," Zephyr reports grimly. Amara silently opens her journal, referencing a page of handwritten calculations. She makes a series of precise adjustments to her scope's brass dials, her movements unhurried despite the chaos unfolding below. "What are you doing?" Elowen demands over comms. "Get down! You're exposing our position for nothing." Amaris doesn't respond, settling into position on the exposed ridge. The wind whips violently around her, but her hands remain perfectly steady as she aligns her shot. Riker, observing through binoculars, notices a faded tattoo on her wrist as her sleeve rises. A distinctive symbol he recognizes immediately. His expression shifts from confusion to disbelief. "Hold fire," he orders the team. "Everyone hold fire." Amaris takes a single deep breath, her finger steady on the trigger of the ancient rifle. Time seems to slow as she exhales and squeezes. The shot cracks across the valley. For several long seconds, nothing happens. The team exchanges confused glances, their mockery turning to bewilderment. Then, precisely 7 seconds after Amaris fired, the enemy artillery position erupts in a controlled explosion. Complete silence follows. Through their scopes, the team watches enemy forces scramble in confusion. "Target neutralized," Amaris says quietly into her comm, already reloading with practiced efficiency. The team stares in stunned silence. Elowen's voice finally breaks through. "That's not possible. Not with that rifle. Not at that distance. Not in these conditions." "Extraction team, you're clear to move," Riker orders, his voice steady despite his shock. He approaches Amaris as she methodically packs her journal away. "You're from Phantom Echo," he says quietly. "The Meridian Ghost." Amaris neither confirms nor denies, continuing her work. "They said it was propaganda," Riker continues. "One shot, 2 miles out, in a sandstorm. Ended the entire Meridian Valley conflict. No one believed it was possible." "Enemy forces are regrouping," Amaris interrupts, pointing to a seemingly empty hillside to the north. "Second team moving from that ridge. 4 minutes until they have line of sight to the extraction point." Riker scans with his thermal imaging and confirms hostiles exactly where she indicated. Forces invisible to the naked eye and conventional optics. "How did you—" he begins. "The artillery was a diversion," she says simply. "Always look where they don't want you to see." Riker stands at attention and offers Amaris a formal salute. One by one, the entire team follows suit, the mockery replaced by solemn respect as they realize who stands among them. The extraction team reports they've secured the asset and are moving to the rendezvous point. With Amaris's warning, Phantom Unit repositions to provide cover against the approaching enemy forces. As they wait, Talon edges closer to Amaris. "That scope, it's not standard issue from any era I recognize." "It's not," Amaris confirms, allowing him a closer look. The brass fittings contain intricate mechanisms unlike anything in modern optics, gears and dials that seem almost steampunk in design. "Project Parallax," Amaris explains quietly. "During the war, they recruited women as snipers because they could deploy them without drawing attention. My grandmother was among the first. They gave them experimental optics." "Why women?" Elowen asks, having moved closer to listen. "The scopes were deemed too dangerous for general deployment," Amaris replies. "Something about neural connection. Women prove more compatible." A sudden burst of gunfire interrupts them as the secondary enemy force emerges precisely where Amaris predicted. The team engages, their advanced weapons making quick work of the threat now that they're prepared. Through it all, Amaris takes just one more shot. Another impossible feat that eliminates the enemy commander from a position that should have been completely protected. As the extraction team reaches safety with the asset, Riker notices Amaris discreetly pressing a handkerchief to her nose, coming away with blood. "The scope," he says quietly. "It takes something from you, doesn't it?" Amaris meets his gaze steadily. "Everything has a price, Commander." Back at Forward Operating Base Sentinel, the mood has transformed. The team that had dismissed Amaris now keeps a respectful distance, watching her with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. In the debriefing room, Amaris finally reveals more about her weapon. She opens a hidden compartment in the rifle stock, removing faded photographs of women in different military uniforms across 3 generations. My grandmother, my mother, and me, she explains. All parallax snipers. The program officially never existed. She shows them her hands, which bear fine scars like spider webs across the palms. The scope doesn't just calculate trajectory. It somehow connects to the shooter, lets us see possibilities, paths the bullet might take, but each shot takes something from us. Is that why Phantom Echo was disbanded? Zephyr asks. After Meridian Valley? The official report said the shot was impossible, Riker interjects. That it must have been an internal explosion, not a sniper. They claim Phantom Echo had fabricated their success. And you lost everything, Elowen realizes. Your unit, your recognition. I did my job, Amara says simply. That was enough. Captain Zephyr returns with a secure tablet. Command confirms all objectives achieved. The asset is secure. He hesitates, then adds, they're requesting confirmation on how the artillery position was neutralized. All eyes turn to Riker, who makes a decision. Tell them it was neutralized with a precision strike from 2.3 miles, executed by Specialist Amaris Thorne, formerly of Phantom Echo. Request immediate declassification of the Meridian Valley operation and full restoration of honors to all Phantom Echo personnel. Amaris looks up in surprise, the first real emotion she's shown. They'll deny it, she says quietly, like they always have. Riker smiles grimly. Not this time. We recorded everything through our tactical systems. Every shot, every calculation. The truth doesn't stay buried forever, Specialist Thorne. The following day, Amaris finds herself alone in the armory, carefully maintaining her rifle. The brass components of the scope gleam under the fluorescent lights as she polishes them with a soft cloth. Elowen enters, hesitating at the doorway before approaching. The mockery from their first meeting has been replaced by something closer to reverence. May I? Elowen gestures toward the rifle. Amaris nods, allowing her to examine the weapon more closely. Elowen's fingertips trace the intricate gearwork of the scope, marveling at its complexity. How does it work? She asks. Really? Amaris considers her answer carefully. Conventional scopes only show you what is. This shows you what could be. Every variable, every possibility. Wind, temperature, rotation of the Earth, even the slightest tremor in your hand. It calculates them all simultaneously. But the cost, Elowen presses. What does it take from you? Amaris is silent for a long moment. Time, she finally says. Each shot ages you, microscopically, but it adds up. My grandmother lived to 50 but looked 90, my mother the same. And you? I'm 42, Amara says, meeting Elowen's gaze directly. According to my last medical scan, my cellular age is closer to 60. The revelation hangs between them. Elowen struggles to find words. Why would anyone choose that? She finally asks. Because some shots matter more than a few years of life, Amaris replies without hesitation. Meridian Valley, 342 soldiers were about to be massacred. One shot changed that. Would you give 10 years of your life to save 300? Before Elowen can answer, Riker enters the armory, his expression grave. Command wants to see you, both of you. In the secure communication room, a panel of officers appears on the screen. Their faces are stern, unreadable. At the center sits General Verena Blackwell, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. Specialist Thorne, she begins without preamble. Your actions yesterday have forced us to reconsider certain classified matters. Amara stands at rigid attention, her face betraying nothing. The Meridian Valley incident was sealed for good reason, the general continues. Project Parallax technology was deemed too dangerous for deployment. The physiological cost to operators was deemed unacceptable. With respect, General, Riker interjects. Specialist Thorne saved lives yesterday. The technology works. At what cost, Commander? The General's gaze shifts to Amaris. Show them your medical scans, Specialist. Reluctantly, Maris retrieves a small drive from her pocket and inserts it into the terminal. Her medical records appear on a side screen, detailed cellular analysis showing advanced aging patterns throughout her system. Every shot accelerates cellular degradation, the general explains to the stunned team. Project Parallax was terminated because we couldn't justify asking soldiers to sacrifice their lifespan, even for the most remarkable tactical advantage. I made my choice, Amaris says firmly. Every time. Yes, you did, the general acknowledges. As did your mother, as did your grandmother. 3 generations of Thorn women serving in silence, accepting that their sacrifices would never be acknowledged. The general's tone softens almost imperceptibly. Perhaps that was our mistake. With a gesture, she brings up new documents on the main screen. Official military records, presidential citations, medals of honor, all bearing the names of Amaris Thorn, Leora Thorn, and Sienna Thorn. Effective immediately, Project Parallax is declassified. The Meridian Valley operation is recognized as a successful mission, with full honors restored to all Phantom Echo personnel. The general's eyes meet Amaris's directly. Your grandmother's contributions will be honored at Arlington next month. Your mother's name will be added to the Wall of Heroes at West Point. Amaris's composure finally breaks. A single tear tracks down her cheek as 20 years of silence and denial are swept away in an instant. And you, Specialist Thorn, the general continues, are hereby promoted to the rank of Major, with immediate assignment as head of the newly formed Parallax Division. Your first task will be to train others in the use of your grandmother's technology, which will now be officially recognized and developed. Elawan steps forward. General, the physical cost will be mitigated, the general interrupts. Our medical division has been studying the Thorn family's genetic samples for years. We believe we can reduce the cellular degradation by 80% with modern modifications to the original design. She looks directly at Amaris. Your sacrifices won't be in vain, Major, and they won't need to be repeated by the next generation. The communication ends, leaving the room in stunned silence. Riker is the first to recover, offering Amaris a formal salute. Congratulations, Major Thorn. One by one, the team follows suit, the mockery of the previous day replaced by genuine respect. Amaris returns their salutes, her posture perfect despite the emotion evident in her eyes. Later, in the quiet of her quarters, Amaris carefully wraps her rifle in a cloth emblazoned with the newly revealed insignia of Project Parallax, a stylized eye within a crosshair. She places it in a case alongside the faded photographs of her mother and grandmother in their uniforms. A knock at her door reveals Elawan holding a small package. I had the armory make this, she says, offering it to Amaris. It's not much, but I thought you might want it. Inside is a brass plate, newly engraved with 3 names, Sienna Thorn, Leora Thorn, and Amaris Thorn, along with their service dates and a simple inscription. They saw what others couldn't. Amaris traces the engraving with her fingertip. Thank you, she says softly. Will you teach us? Elawan asks. How to see the way you do? Amaris considers the question carefully. The scope helps, but the real skill is believing you can make the impossible shot when everyone else has given up. That's harder to teach. Elawan nods, understanding. I'd like to try. Then we begin tomorrow, Amaris says. But I should warn you, once you learn to see possibilities, you can never go back to seeing the world as simply as before. Some prices are worth paying, Elawan replies, echoing Amaris's earlier words. As night falls over Forward Operating Base Sentinel, Amaris stands at her window, looking out at the same mountains where, just a day before, she had been an outsider, a relic with an antique rifle. Now those mountains would become the training ground for a new generation of snipers who would learn to see beyond conventional limits. For the first time in 20 years, Amaris Thorn allows herself to feel something like pride, not for the impossible shot, but for the legacy that would now, finally, be acknowledged. 3 months later, the training grounds of Fort Obsidian buzz with activity. A new class of sniper recruits stands at attention as Amaris walks the line, her uniform now bearing the proper insignias and long-denied medals. The morning sun glints off the silver oak leaves of her new rank. Her rifle is displayed prominently in a case behind her, retired from active service but preserved as a reminder of a classified legacy finally brought to light. Beside it, stand three newer versions, each maintaining the distinctive brass fittings of the original but incorporating modern materials and digital components. Precision isn't about technology, she tells the recruits. It's about seeing what others don't, and being willing to stand alone when no one believes what you see. The recruits listen with rapt attention. Unlike previous classes, these 12 have been specifically selected for genetic compatibility with the parallax technology. 6 men, 6 women. The first co-ed class is in the program's now official history. Today you begin learning to see beyond conventional limits, Amaris continues. The scopes you'll be using are modified to reduce physiological impact, but make no mistake, this training will change you permanently. Your perception will never be quite the same again. As the recruits disperse to their first stations, Elowen approaches. Their relationship has evolved from mockery to mentorship, with Elowen now Amaris's most dedicated student and second in command of the Parallax Division. The calculations in your journal, Elowen says, holding up a notebook of her own attempts. I've been trying to understand them. Amaris smiles faintly. It's not about the math. The scope shows the path, but you have to be willing to take the shot, to stand exposed on that ridge when everyone else takes cover. Elowen nods, understanding dawning in her eyes. It's not just about seeing possibilities, is it? It's about choosing which one to make real. Exactly, Amaris replies. Now you're beginning to understand. In the distance, Commander Riker watches the exchange. Captain Zephyr joins him, offering a tablet with a classified directive. They're expanding Project Parallax beyond military applications, Zephyr says. Search and rescue, disaster response, even medical imaging. The ability to see beyond conventional limits has implications far beyond warfare. With modern technology, Riker muses, watching Amaris demonstrate a stance to Elowen. Imagine what they could achieve. Do we tell her? Zephyr asks. Riker considers the question, watching the woman who had arrived as a forgotten relic and become a legend. No, he decides. This time, we ask her. She's earned that respect. Later that afternoon, Amaris oversees the recruits' first attempts with training versions of the Parallax scopes. These simplified models offer a glimpse of the technology's potential without the full neural connection or the physical cost of the original. A young recruit named Sariel Ramirez excels immediately, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of the system that reminds Amaris of her grandmother's stories about her own early training. It's like seeing music, Sariel tries to explain to her fellow recruits. Everything connects in patterns you can feel more than see. Amaris nods approvingly. That's exactly how my grandmother described it. The parallax effect isn't just visual, it's almost synesthetic. You perceive multiple dimensions of information simultaneously. As the session ends, General Verena Blackwell arrives unannounced. The recruits snap to attention as she approaches, but her focus is entirely on Amaris. Walk with me, Major, she says, gesturing toward the ridge overlooking the training grounds. As they walk, the general speaks candidly. The president will be making an announcement next week about Project Parallax. After 70 years of secrecy, the program and its achievements will be acknowledged publicly. Amaris absorbs this news silently. Your grandmother will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously, the general continues. Your mother's research on neural optics will be published in full with proper attribution. And you, Major Thorne, will be asked to testify before Congress about the program's potential beyond military applications. The world isn't ready for this technology, Amaris says quietly. Perhaps not, the general acknowledges. But they weren't ready for many technologies that change the world. The question is whether we guide that change or simply react to it. They reach the ridge, looking out over the same mountains where Amaris had made her impossible shot. The general produces a small velvet box from her pocket. This belonged to your grandmother, she says, opening it to reveal a tarnished brass compass with the parallax insignia etched on its cover. It was confiscated when the program was classified. I thought you should have it back. Amaris takes the compass, feeling its weight in her palm. Thank you, General. Your grandmother was my instructor, you know, the general says softly. Before the program was shut down, she saw something in me that no one else did, just as you saw something in Specialist Drake when she mocked your rifle. Amaris looks up in surprise. Yes, I read the reports, the general confirms with a small smile. Sometimes the ones who doubt the most become the strongest believers once they see the truth. Remember that with your recruits. As the general departs, Amaris remains on the ridge, thinking about legacy and truth and the weight of both. The compass in her hand feels like a connection across time, to her grandmother, to her mother, to all the women who had seen beyond conventional limits when the world told them it was impossible. That evening, Amaris invites the original Phantom Unit team to her quarters. The room is sparse but for a small table, now adorned with photographs of 3 generations of Thorn women in uniform. A bottle of rare whiskey sits, open beside 6 glasses. To seeing what others can't, Riker proposes as a toast once everyone is served. To making the impossible shot, adds Talon. To the Thorn women, Elowen says quietly, who changed warfare forever but never got to see their legacy acknowledged. They drink in solemn appreciation. Then Amaris reveals why she's gathered them. The Parallax Division is expanding, she explains, beyond military applications. We'll need a core team we can trust implicitly. People who understand both the potential and the cost. She looks at each of them in turn. I'm offering you all positions, not orders, not assignments, a choice. What exactly would we be doing? Zephyr asks. Changing how humanity sees, Amaris answers simply. The parallax effect has applications in everything from medical imaging to space exploration. We'll be the guides for that journey. One by one, they accept, not with the formal acknowledgement of military orders, but with the quiet commitment of those who have seen something extraordinary and chosen to follow it. As the team departs, Elowen lingers. The recruits are asking questions about you, she says, about Meridian Valley, about how many shots you've taken with the original scope, about the cost you've paid. Amaris considers this. What do you tell them? That some prices are worth paying, Elowen replies, but that our job is to ensure the next generation pays less for seeing more. Amaris nods, satisfied with this answer. Tomorrow we begin advanced training, the neural integration. Are you ready? I am, Elowen confirms, though I'm still not sure I'll ever see what you see. You won't, Amaris says honestly. You'll see your own version of possibility. That's the true gift of parallax. It doesn't show everyone the same thing. It reveals what each person is uniquely capable of seeing. The next morning dawns clear and cold over Fort Obsidian. Amaris stands before her grandmother's rifle, now encased in honor behind glass. The brass scope gleams in the early light, its intricate mechanisms visible beneath crystal-clear preservation material. Beside it, a newer rifle waits, similar in fundamental design, but incorporating 70 years of technological advancement. Its scope retains the distinctive brass components that mark it as parallax technology, but integrated with digital displays and carbon fiber construction. Amaris lifts it carefully, feeling its weight. Lighter than her grandmother's weapon, but somehow carrying the same gravity of purpose. She raises it to her eye, activating the neural interface for the first time. The world transforms through the lens, not just magnified, but expanded, possibilities blossoming like paths of light across the landscape. She can see trajectories, probabilities, patterns within patterns that had always been there but never visible to conventional perception. For a moment, she feels her grandmother's presence, as though the generations of Thorn women are connected through this unique way of seeing, this gift and burden they had carried in silence for so long. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition, she whispers to herself, but deserved more than anyone else? Someone whose quiet excellence was mistaken for weakness until one defining moment changed everything. She lowers the rifle, ready to begin teaching others to see beyond conventional limits, ready to build a legacy that, at long last, will be acknowledged, not just for herself, but for all those who had stood alone on exposed ridges, seeing what others couldn't, taking impossible shots when everyone else had given up.